this person just calls me up, not even me, in fact, one of my team members, he just calls him up and he says that, we liked everything. It's just great. And, it's just an amazing thing that you're doing and everything. And then he says, but there's this one problem. So he said, what? So he says that, Smriti is really young right now. And we're not really comfortable with the fact that, she's kind of leading right now. So he says that what's the problem? I mean, she's really good at what she's doing. I mean, in my team right now, I think everybody is elder to me. Nobody is really younger, at least on the senior leadership right now.
Hi, hello, namaste to all my listeners. I'm your host Sarthak Varshney, and I welcome you all to the Balls of Steel show, where you get an insight into the business mindset of the entrepreneurs. Dhandho ni Soch. Our today's guest is Ms. Smriti Tomar. Hi, Smriti.
Hi, Sarthak.
How are you?
I am good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for coming in. It's early morning that I've called you in for the interview. I hope everything's going great on that part.
No, I'm an early riser, so anyway, it's really good. And thank you so much for having me here. Really excited. Have seen your previous podcast, and I must say it's really interesting to hear various journeys and experiences of people, entrepreneurs like myself. So yeah, glad to be
Right.
a part of the same.
Thank you so much for coming in, and I'm sure that in talking about the same thing, I'll be getting good insights from your journey as well, which with which I can and my listeners can also grow out there. So yeah, with that said, I'm gonna dive in and I'm gonna ask you the question that I really ask is, what is the business that you are into because of which we're gonna say that you've got the balls of steel?
So basically, my business is known as Stack Finance. It's a fintech startup, essentially into
Mm-hmm.
personal finance domain. So by fintech, I guess a lot of you might already know, but fintech essentially means that when you use technology to provide, various financial services, it's called as fintech. Right now, the buzzword in the industry, especially in startup world in India. Um,
Right.
so essentially, we are into personal finance domain, catering to this millennial population, especially focused on this domain. Essentially,
Mm-hmm.
the product itself is a mobile application that really helps you to kind of automate, manage, and track all your expenses, savings, investments, credit, loan, be it anything. So the idea is was to basically create a super app in the financial service space where you don't really have to juggle between different kind of, let's say, banking apps, wallets, expense management, or credit card or anything. And there's just one
Right.
that kind of handles everything for you, like a financial manager sitting in your pocket. So
Right. Right.
that's
Right.
what it is all about.
That's great. In that case, I guess I'm really gonna really enjoy this conversation because for a very long time I've been trying to find out such good apps which they exist out there because I am personally into a lot of my finance management. So and I
Hmm.
kind of love that also. So I guess this is gonna be really interesting talking to you about it. So yes, Smriti, let's dive deep into this journey of this fintech startup and why don't you start from the very beginning and
Hmm.
tell me everything in detail till the current point at which you are how it really went about.
Yeah, sure. So the journey has been very interesting. A lot of high and low points in this journey, but overall, I say that I've really enjoyed it, and if I have to do it all over again, I would never hesitate to. So for me, it started really early. I was still
Hmm.
in my undergrad. I graduated as a BTech actually from an IT Bhopal. It was back then
Okay.
that I had, started developing a lot of interest into finance, especially investments, owing to my,
Okay.
this. I would say I was really a fan of Warren Buffett. I happened to stumble upon his book I think I was around 15 to 16 years of age back then, and I was really
Oh.
inspired by him. I could not really understand, a lot of what he said, but slowly and steadily, I started, following things, and became a hardcore
Hmm.
follower. And that's when I started investing into stock market. Um, Learned my own lessons. I say that I'm more or less a self-taught investor, in fact. So I would follow
Hmm.
Warren Buffett, his teachers, John Bogle, etc. And
Right.
that's when my passion for finance really started building up. I, although was an engineer back then, I mean, studying engineering, but I really had this passion for finance, and hence I would try out a lot of products or do a lot of courses around finance.
Hmm.
After that, I landed up a job, and it was back then. I met a lot of people who were, themselves entrepreneurs, and I told them about, this thing that I kind of felt is a problem existing in the, market right now, or in the, especially in India, which by which I mean that when I was in my undergrad, and people would know that I invest and I know a bit or two things about personal finance. People would come to me
Hmm.
and ask, like, if I have this amount of money, where should I invest? How much should I save? In fact, my relatives started asking me, and that's when I realized people are a lot more confused when it comes to their money. And
Right.
somehow financial management becomes a luxury in a person's life, especially in a middle class
Right.
person's life, which it should not be. I mean, money is the most important thing, which in your life, probably the most important thing, and you should know how to, take care of it. You should know how to grow it. So that's when I
Hmm.
realized that it becomes really complicated for people, and how complex, how bureaucratic the process is right now when it comes to money and money management. So yes,
Right.
I started sort of ideating on the same thing. I met a lot of people. We started brainstorming. It was, I think, back in 2018 that a lot of people who were entrepreneurs themselves, they kind of gave me a push. They said that you seem to be really passionate, and why don't you really take it up as a venture. And I was not really sure, but then got a few nudges, and I just took the leap of faith. I quit my job and I started this full time. So that's how it
Okay.
really started. I'm fortunate enough to have had a lot of people who had joined me really early, and also have been joining in so far in the team, and yeah,
Hmm.
helping me to scale up this project further. So that's, I think, been my journey. I would say that it's not really a rocket science or something that I have really invented. It's a problem that's been existing for since forever, in fact. But somehow, I guess nobody had really focused on creating something that's sort of a comprehensive experience in personal finance, and especially
Hmm.
helping millennials. People usually think of millennials as the social media savvy people who just splurging all their salaries and money here and there. But on the
Right.
contrary, I believe that millennials are also very much financially conscious. I mean, at least compared to the previous generation, they are much more
Right.
career oriented. They're much more money savvy as compared to
Right.
the older generation. So why not focus on these people, especially they being the future of India. That's the, I would say, that's the expanding population right now in India, and it's really the point of focus. It should be the point of focus right now. So yeah, here's what we are doing to contribute to the same.
Okay. So you told me your long, detailed journey in a pretty crisp manner. That's nice. But I'll bring out a lot of stuff out of it.
Yeah, sure.
So, so I see that there's a lot of interesting stuff, honestly, in your journey. Warren Buffett at the age of 15, 16. Oh my God. When I read Warren Buffett, he literally went over my head. Like when the first time I read his book, The Warren Buffett Way. Oh my God, that
Oh,
was
that's my first
insane.
book. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess maybe that is the first book from Warren Buffett's side for everyone in India. If I don't know if
Kind
that's right
of.
to say, but that's an amazing book, honestly. That even
Yeah.
that book opened my mind a lot on stocks and everything. I was like, dude, I need to do this shit. But then I was like, I'm sorry. I am into something else, not this thing. Okay, so yes, as we move on, Smriti, I see that
Mhm.
you've been an undergrad from NIT Bhopal, BTech, and then jumped into finance and job, and then left
Mhm.
job and got into this career. That's pretty simple. But when we talk about the entrepreneurship, there's something that is the real trigger, and the seeds that really lie somewhere. So
Mhm.
tell me something more about your family background, and where do you really come from, and how has it been like there.
Mhm.
Is there someone who does business in your family, or you would have seen someone doing stuff like that? So tell me more about
Mhm.
it.
Okay. So in terms of my background, I come from Bhopal itself. It's my hometown.
Okay.
Fortunate to have been born and brought up there. I come from a very small family. We are a nuclear family, and coincidentally, or in fact, ironically, nobody in my family comes from a business background. In fact, so most of the people are, usually. Um, have 2 to 3 degrees and they end up being engineers or PhDs, etc. And then the other half is mostly into civil services, etc. So or government services. So that's the background. So literally nobody I can recall is from business as such. Uh, but I guess it's not the instinct of doing business, but instinct of
Mm-hmm.
solving problem that kind of triggers the entrepreneur in you. I really believe that. I mean, I never started my journey thinking of making money or making a legacy or starting up a business or something. For me, it was a problem that I had experienced, and I wanted nobody else to kind of go through those similar problems. So for me,
Right.
it's more about solving a problem than just making a business. Or ultimately, yes, everything comes down to money, but at least the foundation of this has been a problem that I had faced, and this is what I tried solving. My
Mm-hmm.
family, yeah, I mean, naturally, because nobody really belonged from this business background, not they were not really thrilled or excited about this idea of me getting into entrepreneurship, and especially after leaving a well-settled, career and job. Um,
Right.
uh, and it was really difficult, to have them to come to terms with this idea and this kind of a lifestyle. I mean, entrepreneurship
Mm-hmm.
is a struggle. I mean, it's a never-ending struggle. You can never think,
Right.
you're at a stage where you just have made enough money or created a legacy or become successful.
Right.
One moment you're at the you're at the peak of your success, and the other moment COVID hits and you just don't know what might happen to your business. So I think business is all about
Right.
risk, and you can never say that you have just achieved everything you wanted to. So it's a never-ending struggle, and hence the lifestyle itself becomes really dynamic. There's
Man.
nothing, you do not really have I would say a very stringent routine, or I still now have not been able to figure out a stringent routine for myself. You keep traveling a lot, you meet a lot of people, you grow, and the byproduct is that you in fact that you grow at exponential levels compared to
Ab-
people who might have opted for other career options. So it's
right.
difficult to kind of match pace with people who are entrepreneurs if you are not sometimes. So I think those are the problems that my family had faced, and they had to struggle with. But yeah, fortunately, I think as time passed, they have really come to terms with it. They have been really supportive, at least, if not anything. They have never kind of held me back, and especially,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's difficult for, I don't want to bring that card up exactly, but at least for girls, and especially in the early stage, it becomes really difficult for them to kind of, break those societal barriers, essentially, of
Absolutely.
having a well settled job and a career, and then getting married soon, or probably having another higher education or something. For me, those were the kind of expectations set. So it's difficult, but I think if you have the right support, if you have your family by your side, it becomes a lot more easier.
Right, 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 right. Okay, so honestly, Smriti, there's a lot of questions that arises from this part of your journey, and I would really like to pull out a lot of stuff, like legit lot of stuff. So first of all, coming
Yeah,
down
sure.
from Bhopal, right, and the kind of city that we all know about Bhopal is not exactly that I know a lot about Bhopal, but I mean, still small impressions about Bhopal, you understand, right? So,
Right.
talking about the society, right? So, what kind of impression does that society leave on you? If I really talk about it, because let's say I'll give you an example. When I talk to other entrepreneurs, right, and they're from
Mm-hmm.
Bihar, so I've got
Mm-hmm.
to hear this a lot that in Bihar they say that business तो वो करते हैं जो कुछ और नहीं कर पाते हैं. So in Bihar, doing a job is a better thing than doing a business. So what kind of
Okay.
society that do you really come from, and what kind of impact did that society have on you? If I talk about it.
All right. I
Right.
think, as such, entrepreneur from where I come from, I have not really seen that people look down upon entrepreneurship as such.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking of it as probably the worst case option that you might have in your career. But at the same time, people are
Right.
not really thrilled or encouraging when it comes to people opting out for entrepreneurship. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I personally have seen that people value more when you have more qualifications, you have a high paying, job, you have, probably, let's say, a secure career in terms of maybe, civil services or opting out for any government job or anything. So that's the kind
Mm-hmm.
of background that I've come from. I personally, in terms of schooling and my college days, also, I think it's been really open. I come from a convent where you're taught literally, anything and everything. There's just no bounds and sorry, boundaries to, the kind of career options that you can explore. But at the same time,
Right.
I cannot really recall anyone, literally anyone from my at least my network from school or college who has been an entrepreneur, at least a successful entrepreneur. There might be some, but I have not really come across somebody who's really made it big. So the reason maybe is yes, when you're not really exposed to this career path, when you're not really told a lot about it, when you're not
Mm-hmm.
really you do not really see a lot of see you. I think the reason you want to opt out for a career option, and only when you opt out, I mean, not that you're kind of pushed into one. The reason you opt out
Mm-hmm.
for a career option is because you kind of get inspired, because you have people around you who have inspired you, or you find that you want to choose that kind of a lifestyle, and you want to live like that person or achieve the success that he has or he or she has achieved. So I think
Right.
the lack of presence of such people and the lack of this community kind of leads to a lack of exposure to entrepreneurship. That is what I
Right.
have felt. I mean, growing up, I did not really know how to start a business, or what does it even mean to start a business. I could barely find anybody who runs a business in my family, in my college, or anywhere else. So it's difficult
Mm-hmm.
to kind of relate, kind of get inspired. But at the same time, I guess it does not really mean that you are not allowed to, or you're looked down if you choose to be an entrepreneur. Growing
Mm-hmm.
up, I remember, at least in my college during my undergrad, I think it was only 3 years or 2 years back that they had initiated this entrepreneurship and development cell. So you can imagine how
Right.
laid back at least engineering institutes are in tier two cities.
Right.
They are not really entrepreneurship savvy. They do not, if you're not educating people around what it is to be an entrepreneur and how can you start taking baby steps towards it. I don't know, I mean, it does not really leave a lot of people as option to opt for the same. You have legit courses during engineering or
Right.
any other educational in any other education institute. You have legit courses for probably engineering, medical, or anything. But entrepreneurship is something that nobody really focuses on. You just have these EDCs and these departments that kind of, these are again student run departments that kind of start bringing up this culture. So now I
Right.
see it has grown to a level that I have never seen before. At least to a lot of colleges and institutes that I go to for various programs, etc. I see that people have so much knowledge. They are so much enthused about entrepreneurship, and it really, it really, I am really taken aback sometimes because I've never seen that during at least my
Uh-huh.
educational. Years that people are so much excited about getting into entrepreneurship or starting their own business. It's really amazing. I mean,
Right.
as I said, I mean, people say that India's greatest
Uh-huh.
asset right now is its youngsters, people, this
Right.
millennial
Right.
population, and
Right.
it's even better if a lot of them have aspirations to start their own businesses and make jobs for
Right.
other people, because that's what ultimately will help the economy. So
I
yeah, I
know.
mean,
I
it
know.
looks great now.
Right, right. So that's a good insight, I would say, coming from Bhopal and like telling us really, what people kind of feel about there and how honest, in the very blunt terms, some like really putting it out, how laid back are we in terms of entrepreneurship in the Indian culture. So there's
Mm-hmm.
another thing, the thing that really comes up that Smriti, you told us you in your family most of the people have 2 to 3 degrees and central government jobs and
Mm-hmm.
everything. So I
Mm-hmm.
believe somewhere in your like in your family, your mother and father, both of them somewhere have really good degrees and maybe it's a good settled job in that part, and that is where the discrepancies would have really happened with you ki beta
Mm-hmm.
settled job chhod ke. So tell me about this fight, because personally I know how hard it is, so difficult, and how difficult it is to really convince parents when it comes down to कि नहीं बाबा मैंने अपना खुद का कुछ करना है and I can really do something out of it. So what exactly was your experience there, and what was the mindset? Because you are vouching for a risk in your head that okay,
Mm-hmm.
I will make this happen and I have to prove it to them also. And
Mm-hmm.
on the face of it, you are really literally convincing them, no matter how heavy your heart is inside. So tell me more
Yeah.
about that real experience of that real talk you had with your parents. That's gonna be more fun to know.
So, I mean, my father himself is in government service. So and I am, me being, a great, I would say I was really great at my academics. I have never scored anything below 95 or
Oh my
94% in
God.
my school life. So naturally,
Okay.
they had these aspirations of me getting into civil services, taking up
Hmm.
UPSC, and then probably getting into, some IAS or IPS cadre or something.
Right.
I could never relate to that. I mean, I personally, I just didn't want to go into government service or civil services. That was for sure. So I just opted out like
Haha.
everybody else for engineering, the baby step towards
Okay.
every career, and I
Right.
enjoyed it. I mean, I really wanted to be an engineer. I never had any wrong intentions on that front.
Right.
I really enjoyed studying in college. I wanted to get into, probably into software development or somewhere around data
Hmm.
analytics, etc. Fortunately enough, I landed up a job where I had to work with Citibank, Mexico. So
Right.
I think for me,
Wow.
that was a great trigger because when I'm here wondering that why are financial services so complicated. I mean,
Haha.
why can users not be given a very simplified experience? And then there I am working in a bank, and I realize, okay, oh, this is why, because it's so bureaucratic, it's so complex. I mean, they have these huge network of staff and um, you know. I would say branches that makes it so difficult for them to operate. Operate on heavy balance sheets, and that was when I realized,
Right.
okay, these people cannot innovate. It's very difficult for them to provide the kind of ideal services that I as user had always wanted. And so I realized, it cannot be changed by banks, it cannot be changed by financial institutes, it has to be done by startups. um,
Right.
when then coming back, yeah, I mean, opening up to my parents, I still remember I was at my job, and I would literally you know count my days of working in that particular job. I mean, not that it was not interesting or I didn't really enjoy
Haha.
it. I had a great experience. It was my first job full time, and it was a great experience. I Fortunately enough, I got to work with a bank. So
Right.
yeah, overall it was a fulfilling experience, but ultimately it's not challenging enough. I mean it's so comfortable. You get it, it's so convenient for some person to land up a job there and just kind of utilize all their years of the peak of their career, in fact, into that comfortable job, getting a paycheck at the end of the month, being satisfied with it, waiting for promotions, etc. I
Right.
realize that I am so not that kind of a person. I mean, I cannot work at a place which is not challenging, where I cannot see an impact being created by me. In fact, so how I would really see that is that, in a team of, let's say, we were, I think, around 20 to 25 members team there,
Right.
and if even one of us would be absent or even two to three people are absent, does not make a difference. People don't realize, people don't see that if this person has not come, and now the business would be impacted, or now this project would be impacted, etc. So if that's
Right.
not the kind of authoritativeness or responsibilities I hold in a particular project or in a particular company, I don't really feel excited working there. So that's when I
Right.
realized it's difficult for me to, work in a setup where it's so I would say bureaucratic. It is so hierarchical that it does not really, it does not create an impact, no matter how much hard I work or how much efforts I put. And
Right.
the second thing is, for me, I think I really cannot work for someone. At least I really admire this person,
Right.
or find this
Ha ha
person to be really
ha.
inspiring. For me, he or she has to be really, really amazing at what they do, and they have to continue inspiring me. I really love to stay in touch with people who are really successful, who inspire me day in, day out. I am in touch with a lot of them, in fact. Um, that's what excites me. And if there's somebody I really do not admire, I don't think, I'm sorry, I'm being a little mean here, but that's what it
Right.
is. It becomes really difficult for me to work for them. So that is when I realized that job is not my thing. I cannot do a job. And I just took this up with my parents, and naturally they overreacted and they were like, har koi karta hai, what is the struggle here? And I don't know. I mean, I realized that I really have to do something, but I didn't want to quit the job until I had something substantial in my hands. So I met a lot of people. For in fact, last 4 months, I was part time into venturing out. So
Oh.
I remember I was in office. I would continuously be on call. Sometimes during my lunch hours, I would be constantly on. I remember we were not allowed to take laptops, our personal laptops there, or in fact even
Right.
smartphones into the office floor, where we had
Right.
proper tables and everything, because it's a bank, so you're not allowed to. It's there. The information is really confidential. So you're only
Right.
allowed to have those dabba phones inside. You cannot have a smartphone. You cannot take your laptop into the office premises at all. So I would, go out every now and then, have my smartphone, then take it out from the locker, then check,
Ha.
and explore internet, read a lot of books, etc. Whenever I would get time. So it was a struggle managing all of this, but I managed to at least 3 to 4 months there.
Right.
Finally, when things
Right.
started building up, I realized that I think more importantly, this is what I have seen with entrepreneurs, at least young entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
that they wait for the right moment. They wait for the right kind of sometimes capital. They wait for the right kind of resources sometimes, and this is where I was wrong. I mean, you can never wait for the perfect launch.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
you can the wait is never
Mm.
ending, in fact. So I
Mm.
think the
There's no
right
right time for anything.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly. So I think there's this person who told me, what you have to wait for is the opportunity. And if you think that the opportunity is now, and if you let it go or you wait for a longer time, it will go on, then I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a loss. And since then, I think the only fear I have in my entrepreneurial journey is the loss of opportunity. And I dread that, literally dread that. So I realized
Okay.
that if I don't do it now, somebody else will,
Uh,
and then it's gone forever. I mean, just imagine a huge
I
business
know.
that you could have built is all gone because you didn't want to quit your job, and wanted to take those paychecks for at least 3 to 4 months more, and have a proper launch of your venture.
Right. Right.
So it was hard for me to kind of take that leap of faith and quit, but a lot of my friends actually motivated me a lot. I finally told my parents, and at least if they're not really encouraging, at least they were not discouraging too. So they were very much neutral at
Huh.
that point. They were like, okay, fine, whatever you feel is best, you can do, you should do, in fact. So I just quit my job
Huh.
and I ventured out. I fortunately had enough savings to start up with. I got a lot of people who kind of funded us in the angel round. Later on, obviously, it's been a struggle, and I don't know. I mean, it's difficult. At least for somebody so young, I started out when I was 22, and it's difficult to get people to trust you, whether it's team members, whether it's your investors. But I guess if you have the right kind of, as I said, motivation and passion to do it, if it's not just about money, if it's not just about the glamour, uh, that passion really reflects, and this is what people trust. And
Hmm.
fortunately enough, I've had a lot of people who have the same feelings, who share these feelings, and yes, that's how it started up.
Wow. So that is a good insight about the job. So guys, whosoever is listening, this is what really happens in a bank. First of all, तुम्हारा फोन नहीं जा सकता अंदर, तो भूल जाओ तो अपनी गर्लफ्रेंड से बात कर पाओगे, के लैपटॉप पे से चैट कर पाओगे. So 8 घंटे तो भूल ही जाओ.
Unless you both are in the same office at least.
Exactly. So that is the, फिर तो शादी होनी होती है, फिर तो इनवाइट आता है. But so this is what really happens. And looking talking to Smriti about the struggle that was, बाहर जाओ, ऑफिस के लॉकर से फोन निकालो, लंच में बात करो, तो वापस आओ. That is the struggle, believe me. When you just have 20 to 30 minutes and you have to make the best out of it. So yes, Smriti, that is something really good. And I can, well, Smriti hasn't really put up in words, I would honestly say that, but I can somewhere get it that, how difficult it would have been because uncle and auntie have been, you know, into government jobs and they're saying, ki, okay, being neutral, parents being neutral is never being neutral. Realize that,
They're
right?
skeptical, yes. And as you said, I mean,
They're very,
somewhere deep down, you know that it's a huge risk that you're taking. There's 99% chance that you're going to fail, but you cannot really put up in front of them, and you have to be all confident, and you have to sound that you're going to make it really big, and it's going to be successful. So I think that's the blatant, I would say, lie that you're putting it up. Sometimes you're not being totally honest that this is a risk that I'm taking and it might probably not work out. But yeah, I
right.
guess I think whatever feels right at the moment, I just did it.
Absolutely. So this was a huge leap of faith that Smriti took up. So guys, be prepared if you're planning to do something like this. Okay, so that you with that you also cleared, Smriti, that you started up with your savings, but in terms of
Mm-hmm.
the further funding, I'll come back to the question. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so the another thing that really comes up to me is that you really told that how you managed to work around the stuff and how your parent support has been really around this part. Now, moving down to
Mm-hmm.
the engineering part of your life, okay, where you found out this niche. First of all, tell me, like, how did you not have the guts go away when you saw the Warren Buffett book in engineering? I mean, engineering with the books, बहुत कम पढ़ता था, boss. I mean, I'm an engineer myself, but looking at that huge book, I mean, I have heard the audio book, but I know it's pretty big. I mean, that to finance and doing engineering. Where did you get the guts? Ki, okay, मैं पढ़ लूंगी ये. How did that even happen with you?
So, in fact, it was much earlier that I had come across Warren Buffett. So, for me, I think first of all, I have been an avid reader, so that clears out the fact that I
Okay,
can at least, bear up with these, huge and long books and hours of reading. So that was something that I was familiar with and I enjoyed reading. So not that much of a
wow,
struggle there. To understand the
right,
terms, I guess Warren Buffett way has been, yeah, I mean, it was really scary. In fact, whichever book I had picked up, Intelligent Investor, Psychology of Investing, etc. I mean, I remember those first five books, dreadful
right,
experience. But no matter what, I
right,
could never forget these first three chapters of Warren Buffett Way, where his life is kind of explored, how he would admire his father's business and how he started investing at such an early age and started making money in his own entrepreneurial ways, etc. I think that was what really inspired me. I mean, no matter I would understand or not the content of the books, the rest of the books
mm-hmm.
at least, the only incidents that I could grasp and take inspiration from, I think that was something really inspiring. By nature, I'm really very competitive actually. So when I usually come across people who are really inspiring, I get a little competitive and or I would say, inspired sometimes, and I just want to do
Right,
it for myself too. I want to achieve that too. So
right,
with Warren Buffett, it's been a feeling where I wanted to be as successful as him. I wanted to make money like him. I wanted to be independent like him. Also, I mean, at
right,
some point during engineering, I realized that the obviously the abysmal truth of our educational institutes in India. At some point, at least, you realize that whatever you're being taught or whatever you're writing down on your exam papers, that is probably not going to help you out in the future, and it will not make sense at some point. And
Right.
that is when this hard truth around engineering also started hitting me, that
Hmm.
most of it is probably not going to be a lot helpful. They do not
It's a
really teach
sham.
you practical knowledge, which is really needed. Yes. So,
Right. Right.
it was really upsetting confronting that truth. When
Yeah.
I finally came to terms with it, I thought that, I kind of, it just took away all my faith from these qualifications, degrees, education, etc. Unfortunately, so.
Right.
And I just, then got really inspired from Warren Buffett. I just wanted, to be as independent as he was. Till date, I mean, he really does not, approve of a lot of qualifications and degrees. And I kind of agree
I
with
know.
him. And that's when I started, it's like लोहा गरम था किसने हथौड़ा मार दिया था उस टाइम पे. So yeah, I think that
Right.
is when it really started hitting me. But I think I have been fortunate enough to have a lot of good teachers also. So there's this person that
Okay.
I took his financial course. He also is from Delhi, and
Okay.
he really, brings out all the essence of John Bogle, Graham Bell, Warren Buffett in,
Oh.
simple plain words, and he explains these fundamentals and facts so easily to you. And
Right.
so that's about all the how it became logical to me. So that's when I started understanding all these concepts and everything. But हाँ ठीक है, तो
Right.
I think inspiration तो वॉरेन बफेट की है, but yes, I think चीजें समझाना बाकी लोगों ने भी किया है. There have been other teachers involved.
Right, right, right. I mean, I can really see where this comes from, and honestly, it just feels like talking to another competitive person just like me, because I am as much competitive as you. I was literally thinking like, oh my God, she's kind of defining me right now. Ki, very competitive, or inspired. So, and then I would definitely say that you will definitely agree with me on this. The line that was said for virus in Three Dates. कि कोई मुझसे 2 कदम आगे निकलता था, वो मुझसे 4 कदम आगे निकलते थे, उनसे ज़्यादा कॉम्पिटिटिव हमने किसी को देखा ही नहीं है, right? Because somewhere
Right.
I have to completely agree with that. I'm like, yeah, that is the harsh reality of life. If you can't be ambitious like that, you can't grow. I'm sorry, but yes, that is the truth. So I do
True.
agree with him on that. Right. So we really know that where this comes from. And guys, if you're listening to this, beware. There are people like Smriti all around you somewhere who are very competitive and they will make a difference. So you start working your asses off now. Okay. So now the next thing that really comes up to my mind, Smriti, talking about this journey in your college. So you told me that, in college, your friends started coming up to you because you were investing in stocks and you were doing all these courses. And definitely during this college time, इंजीनियरिंग के टाइम तो अलग ही होता है, उसमें हर किसी को हर चीज में इंटरेस्ट आता है, स्पेशली जो आप नहीं कर रहे होते हो, ठीक है, जो दूसरा कर रहा
Correct,
होता है.
correct.
So
Right.
that is like total engineers experience, guys. That is exclusive for engineers. Okay. So when you talk about that experience, and you also said, that uske baad you started finding out this problem in the market, that there's no such thing which in terms of personal finance and stuff. And also this happens that somewhere it starts striking, okay, I'm looking at a problem right now, probably I can create a business out of it, and you're already learning about Warren Buffett business and all those things out there. So what really was your mindset कि यार I will start with the business, or maybe I won't, or I guess it's just learning that I'm doing. What would really go through your head? Because engineering में बहुत बार होता है ना कि ठीक है, we convince 2 3 friends of ours and like, yeah, we'll start a business, and okay, sorry, I can't do it with you, bro, I'm gonna go, bye. So that has happened with me, honestly. So what was your mindset when you saw so many people coming in, your relatives, your friends, and everyone, and what was it?
Um, okay, so for me, it was not exactly the TVF pictures wala story where you find the two, three friends. One of them is a great techie, other is good at business, other is street smart, etc. And it's the
Right,
perfect mix, and then you can just start up a business. Although yes, it's not as smooth, obviously, but
right.
it wasn't even that smooth for me too. So um, while I was in my college, I did not really think that I would, even at that point, I was not really, sure that I would start up a business or something.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not anytime soon. So this is exactly
Mm-hmm.
why I, took up the job and did not really start up right away. Um, I definitely wanted to get into business and venture out sometime, but it was probably after an MBA. Now, for me, after I had this, after it had struck me that engineering is not really going to help me, kind of
Hmm.
realize the kind of aspirations I have. I was about to fall into another trap where I
Okay,
thought
what was
that
that?
MBA. so I so I really thought that since yeah, although it might not entirely be illogical, because at least for people who
Hmm.
want to venture out, especially into finance space, financial services, etc., it really helps when you have a proper MBA. You have some
Right,
experience in finance, and a lot of doors in terms of opportunities also open. So that makes
right,
sense, and this is why I thought that maybe I should take up MBA first. It probably would teach me a lot of things and open up a lot of doors in terms of networks, in terms of exposure, etc. So I thought
right.
that at that point I had a plan that let me first at least start up with a job. Let me take the experience of how it feels to be an employee, and that did not really
Hmm.
work well. After that, I wanted to take up MBA, especially specializing in finance, and then
Uh-huh.
venture out. Uh, Fortunately, things just turned upside down. Um, Before I
Right.
could even, start realizing that plan forward, I met
Uh-huh.
some people, a couple of people who were also successful entrepreneurs themselves, and
Right.
we became really good friends. And I told them about this thing that I really feel passionate about. I told them that how this is the problem that I really can relate to, and how nobody's really focusing on it. And somehow a lot some of them realized the problem, some of them did not really realize the problem, but one thing in common everybody had was that they kind of believed in my passion. They could see that I wanted
Right.
that thing, but sometimes people see that in you, that you have this passion, you have this motivation, and you can do whatever you want to, be it any problem that
Right.
you're trying to solve. And
Right.
these people really kind of motivated me to not take up MBA and just start
MBA.
up, because and now that I look back, I realize it would have been a huge liability, because getting into
Right.
MBA, then taking up that educational loan, etc.,
I
having
know.
another
I know.
liability over your heads, working for 2, 3 more years to kind of pay off all of this, and then have enough experience and then venture out, etc. By that time, you're almost 30, and being a girl, then you have other pressures and liabilities again. So.
Absolutely.
Um, I mean, it was whole another, as I said, I mean, well planned trap that I could have fallen into. But fortunately enough, I think table just turned upside down. I just
Right.
left my job. I started up. It was a huge, huge, huge struggle. I mean, now imagine, I did not really have anybody who was, we were not a bunch of college students who wanted to start it together. I did not really have any team. I did not have people who
Right.
would complement my skills, etc. And nobody from my, as I said, I mean, I do not come from a place where people are really enthused about getting into entrepreneurship. So I can till date, in
Right.
fact, not find one person who is so passionate about entrepreneurship that he'll give up his high-paying job or something to get into a
Right.
business. So for
Right.
me, it was really hard to find such people, and especially being into fintech space, I need people who are versed with finance also. So it's the rare
Right.
species that I was looking for. Um, but yeah, I think
Right.
I for a lot many months I was alone. kind of brainstorming, ideating, researching, etc. And then, fortunately, as things started falling in place, there were a few old friends that I got in touch with. Again, I remember this one person, I used to intern with him during my college years
Right.
at a startup. And
Uh-huh.
I just, one day, I just needed somebody to kind of, build some. I don't remember exactly what was it, but some software development thing. And
Right.
I could just not recall any person who would be this excited to do, a job like this, or who would
Mm-hmm.
have had an experience in startup. And I just recalled my startup internship days, and I realized there was this person I used to work with. Why don't I just call him up? And I called him
Right.
up, and he said, "Okay, I'll do it." And we started with small contract basis things. I just would give him one
Uh-huh.
project, he would work at it. Obviously free of cost, out of
Right. Friendship.
courtesy.
Good old
And
days.
yeah, exactly. And then I remember it was around, I think a few months back, 8, 9 months back, I told him that, dude, you have to quit your job and just start up with me. And he's like, I am not really sure. And I told him that, everything is now fine. I mean, by that time we had got a range refund and everything. And I told him, I need people like you, I can blindly trust, etc. And that's how I kind of manipulated him and got him to quit his job. And so that's how I have built this team. The initial 3, 4 members have, over the time, joined on board. We were not friends since, college days or school days or something. So, but yeah, I think the team right now, we are around 15, 16 people now, and it's going great. The kind of chemistry bond we have, it's a great mix of people coming from different walks of life, and I'm fortunate, really fortunate to have got such people backing me up and supporting me.
Right, right, right. So I see that Smriti, you're really good at manipulating our
Convincing, let's call it convincing.
That's a better word I would say. I mean, वरना हम सब सारे entrepreneurs की बैंड बज जाएगी ना सच्चाई खुल जाएगी तो इन्वेस्टर कभी पैसा नहीं देगा सार्थक did you really manipulate me in investing in your company? Oh my god. Okay, so that's really interesting how people started coming up and how these things started really falling in place with you. So that is really, really interesting, and the mindset that really went behind this. Okay,
Mhm.
so now I guess it's time, we take a step ahead, and the next thing that really comes up is uh, you left the job and everything was happening. So you've told this to me like quite a few times now that there's been lots and lots of struggles, and I believe your struggles are not very old right now, and they're pretty fresh. So, like, I want you to tell me about the biggest struggle you really faced while setting this up, and which something which has a huge impact on you.
Um, Biggest struggle, I guess, has been. I cannot really say one particular struggle, but there are two, I would say 2 to 3. One is
Mm-hmm.
obviously getting the right talent. By right talent, I mean right kind of people to join you in this project, in this company, who hold similar vision, who hold similar appetite for risk and everything. So that's one thing that is really difficult. I still struggle with the same. I mean, no matter how much you grow, you always want right kind of people to join you uh, in a company who
Right,
are not just skilled but also have the right attitude to share with you. So that has always been a challenge, and I know that it's always going to be a struggle. It's not an easy thing, and it's really important that
mm-hmm.
you focus on the resources that you gather for a tech startup like ours. I think
Mm-hmm.
people are the only asset you have. You don't really have, machines or anything that you can really call as assets in the company, but these are the people that you get over time, people who get skilled with you, grow with you to be your assets. And I really value my team members. So that's something I'm really picky, and I'm really conscious about who joins, who kind of helps us out in this journey and shares this journey with us. Second
Right,
is obviously bringing up the capital. First time entrepreneurs are, I think their biggest struggle is to gather the capital and to be able to fund their business, because especially it's not bootstrapped. And with financial service and fintech, etc., it's usually a very cost-taking business. You cannot really bootstrap, no matter how much money you might have gathered through your job before
Right.
or through your savings, etc. You have to have huge capital to start up.
Mm-hmm.
Being a young entrepreneur myself, without much experience, especially into any banking career or anything, it becomes
Mm-hmm.
difficult to get people to trust you, investors to believe in you. And I mean, let's face it, being a woman, it is kind of a notch more difficult, a notch higher there, because
Mm-hmm.
they have their own apprehensions when it comes to a young female entrepreneur. So I think that's been the second struggle. But as I said, I mean, it's also, if rightly used, it's also an I would say a weapon which you hold.
Right.
It is being young. You are really passionate. You're committed to devote your, and I still do. 24 hours of your day. In fact, I usually say that I need people who give me 48 hours of the day. So I am that kind of a person. For me, there's no distinction between personal or professional life, which by which I do not mean that I do not have any balance in my life. But I really
Right.
enjoy what I'm doing. This is the only business mantra that I follow. Steve Jobs had once said that a great part of your life is actually going to be work. So you
Right.
better, and the only way to be satisfied is to do what you believe is great,
Mm.
and you can
Right.
only do that if you do what you love. So for me,
Right.
it's the same. I really enjoy my work. I can do it 24/7, and I think young entrepreneurs have that kind of a passion, have that kind of dedication and commitment. You do not have a lot to lose. I do not have, a family to take care of. Essentially, any direct dependencies or something. So I can be free. I have all the freedom to work and work really hard, travel whenever I want to, etc. So I think that is an other advantage if you exploit it properly. Obviously, being female, I think it's very important to have. I always say that you have a female member into your leadership in your, whether it's a startup or a company, because usually females have a different perspective to things. They have a
Mm-hmm.
lot more complementing skills as compared to males. In terms
Right.
of organization, planning, strategic thinking, etc., which I really
No
believe
doubt.
has helped
No
me a
doubt.
lot. Yeah, so
Right.
those are the things that I believe are also an advantage when it comes to young female entrepreneurs. If anybody is listening here, I believe that is something that you should really leverage upon. Um, that's, I think, yeah, the second struggle. And the third has been the business we're into. I mean, it's kind of a lot more regulated and bureaucratic. There are a lot
Mm.
many people that we have to do business with, or there's RBI, there's SEBI, there's a lot many financial regulators, institutes that you kind of have to comply with. You have to have a lot of licenses, etc., etc. So I think that's
Mm-hmm.
another hardship, but that keeps going. I mean, that's a part of the business.
Right, right, right. Okay. So that's a good insight. So before I really step forward, Smriti, why don't you tell me how long was the job period?
Sorry, can you repeat?
How long was the job period?
Very small. Close to a year. I would say, yeah, close to a year, 12 months.
12 months. Wow. I guess you started college early in that case. Yeah, very studious.
I and I graduated in 18. Yeah, I graduated in April 18.
Wow, that's really really great. Yeah. Okay, so you started at a really good age. Okay, that's nice. Yeah, I mean, with that, the reason I'm saying this is because okay, I'll come down to this reason. Before I really come down, I have this question because this question, I'm gonna bring out the passion and the motivation part of this entrepreneurial journey. So
Uh-huh.
Smriti, you've been telling us that you met a quite few entrepreneurs while you were in the job, and you know, and you also very specifically mentioned that you had a couple of nudges here and there, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So that was so. I really want to know, like, what and you also said that these entrepreneurs saw the passion in you. So guys, before I really put up my question, you need to understand that when you really want to step into this entrepreneurship journey, okay, so and a person who really is an entrepreneur and who aspires to be one would be able to see through your passion. Otherwise, other people won't be able to see through it. It's a very blunt fact, honestly. So
Hmm.
I mean, an entrepreneur is someone who's like 1 out of 10. So out of 10 people, it will be one or two people you meet, and then they'll tell you okay. And then there are eight people to pull you down like crabs. So you really need to pick your balls up and decide that you if you're gonna take that journey up. So talking on this thing, yeah, Smriti, I really want to know what those nudges were exactly before really stepped into this, and because I somewhere feel that there's a story or there's a something that really ऐसा जैसा आपने कहा था ना गरम लोहे पे हथौड़ा मार दिया. So
Hmm.
what was that?
Hmm.
Tell me that.
Yeah, so I don't know, call it destiny or anything. It was maybe planned this way, but I never in my close circle had anybody as an entrepreneur, as somebody who was doing business or something who I could get inspired from, talk to, or plan
Right.
things with. But fortunately enough, there was this mutual friend that I had. He was, I think, he was doing his own business, his own startup, and it was doing really great. It is doing great,
Okay.
in fact. And I used to, talk to him every now and then, and that's the only exposure I had to an entrepreneur and startup. And it
Right.
was around, I think, after 2 years of being in contact. When I came to Delhi for my job, and we met in person, he was patient enough to listen to all my ideas and everything, and what I have as a plan built up in the future. And he kind of then opened my eyes up, saying that MBA is not really a requirement or a necessity to do a startup, whether or not it's
Right.
fintech or anything. He kind of gave me all the motivation, and he still pushes me for each and everything that I find hard to. And especially I think for entrepreneurs, it's very important that you get out of your comfort zone. You have to. There are a lot of things that you have never done before, and you have to, talking to every strange person, doing things like that you're not really skilled at, but then studying, researching about it, and then getting skilled at
Right.
it or getting good at it, etc. So
Hmm.
those are the kind of things that I would really not was really not comfortable with starting up. But he was the person who kind of motivated me. So I think that's the first person that has been associated with me. He's been a friend, although he's a lot more elder than me, 4 to 5 years.
Hmm.
But
Wow.
yeah, he's been really supportive. He's been the one who's kind of guided me, at least in the starting, in the initial years. After that, I've met a lot of people who have acted as mentors. So I've met this person who was at Paytm in one of, I don't want to name, but he was in the senior leadership. And
Hmm.
I met him, I think 2 months after kind of starting up. And he I don't know what did he see in me, but he kind of took this as his responsibility to guide me, to help me out in whatever hardship I have. And especially whether it's anything, I mean, getting me to network with a lot of people who are relevant for me, whether investors or anybody in the ecosystem, etc. He would invite me to a lot of sessions, seminars, etc., that he was invited to. Anything that anything and everything that he felt was good for me, and that gave me a lot of exposure, that gave me a lot of learning experiences, etc. So
Hmm.
that was the second one. And till late, I think I would say, a bunch of people who I have accumulated over these years to kind of guide me and help me out with various things that they are good at.
Right.
And one thing that I've learned is that it's not really stringent, that or it's not really a mandate that you have mentors in life, but it's really
Hmm.
really good that you have some. And the people you can learn from, the people who you can go to anytime you want to, and who guide you all the time. And the other thing is that it's not a mandate that it's going to be a single person, always. So, at different stages of your life, whether or not it's even business, or in case of
Right,
business also, you have different stages of your business, and you need to have different people and that at those different stages who are, expert at, let's say, this or that, scaling, growing, starting up, launching, etc., who can help you
right,
out with those particular periods of time. And it's good that you keep transitioning from one person to another, not that, leaving away other people, etc., but you know uh, talk to other people also, keep building this circle of mentors, because I think if not anything, I have been able to avoid a lot of mistakes that otherwise are very much obvious in your startup journey, and these people have made, only because they were there
hmm,
to kind of correct me, only because they were there to warn me that this is where we went wrong. You don't have to, you make different mistakes and learn other things. You don't have to repeat
right,
the same mistakes and kind of go through that same vicious circle. We are here to teach you the things that we have already been experienced with. So that is something
right.
I feel I have been fortunate enough to have in my life.
Wow, wow. So, okay, I'm gonna compliment this with one thing. So, guys, if you're listening and you've listened so far, you know one thing that Smithy has been totally inspired by Warren Buffett. Okay, so and Smriti also, kind of derived a lot of stuff from Warren Buffett's books from the first three chapters. And if I really give you a glimpse from that, so Warren Buffett was forced to, sell out his first stock, which made him really, really pissed off. Okay, and what happened was that, guys, then he started reading this book, Intelligent Investor, and then he wrote to Benjamin Graham, the author of Intelligent Investor, and then he was so inspired that he wanted to learn from him in person. And then Benjamin
Hmm.
Graham was one of his first mentors. Okay, so
Right.
and when we really talking about mentors, so Warren Buffett had a mentor. And talking about
Hmm.
Smithy, the other thing that I really wanted to point out here was, guys, uh, when you're really working for something, okay, for solving a problem towards noble cause or whatever in terms of entrepreneurial journey, right, things will start falling in place. Just the way, like listening to Smriti right now, I could really feel that things were literally falling in place. The way she said that this guy from Paytm and good leadership, he just took it as his responsibility to help her out. So I mean, no one really asked him, but he took it, and that is where another growth factor was added to Smriti's career. So you guys really need to understand, you just need to start. Things will start coming into place. And that is where they also say that just keep working for it. The money will come
Hmm.
in, everything will come in. Just do it. Right. So that with that said, Smithy, this is something really, really amazing. And I mean, I just feel very good talking to you about this and knowing that, the good number of mentees that you have. So really, really good to know that. Okay, so now the other question that has been really ticking me for quite a while now, and that is something that you have also very much pointed out. And I really want to know something in detail, what you really have gone through, because I'll tell you, like since I've had words with many entrepreneurs and female entrepreneurs, I know that there is this stigma in the nation that, when we talk about females and people getting out there and all these women entrepreneurs coming up, there is the fact that can you really do it? Would you be able to do it? And talking to you, it really brings it up also and kind of scales it up in terms of intensity. That a very young entrepreneur reaching out to investors and difficult. You also told that it was difficult for you to make investors believe in you, that you really can do it, and the other factors. So give me more insight about it, and how exactly you've leveraged your passion of being a young woman entrepreneur to get the balls rolling for you, because this is very true. I mean, if not the investors, the other people who come in to question you, that you know and then otherwise, if not questioning, then there are other demands that really come up in the nation, right? So I mean, that is very evident that in India, this is the harsh reality, right? So,
Hmm.
like as you said, being in the fintech startup, you have had to go through many licenses from SEBI and from RBI and all those things. So these are like huge deals, and you being a woman, somewhere something would have happened, right? So I really want to know
Hmm.
some of the experiences that you have gone through and how you really came through it. So tell me a
Hmm.
story or incident if there is any.
There are many. I mean, nowadays, I mean, I really don't feel, obviously, in terms of skills and everything, I guess women can be as good as men, be it
Mm-hmm.
business, be it anything. But unfortunately, we have our own struggles, and those are some things that, people sometimes can empathize with and relate to. Sometimes you just can be ignorant and just say that you know there's nothing different, or your struggles are just same as ours. But that's not the fact. I mean, I can name so many things that I still struggle with, I have been struggling with, which I believe that if I were a man, I would not have. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are very basic things. So, for example, that if I have to, let's say, many times it happens, I have to travel to a different city. In fact, during when all of this was obviously when before pre-pandemic time,
Mm-hmm.
I would mostly be traveling throughout the month, in Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, to and fro every time. And
Right.
I have to be very selective in terms of my flights, in terms of my travel plans, that it does not land me up at the airport at, let's say, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, etc. Because then it's very difficult for me to travel alone. It's very it's kind of unsafe, and it's very
Mm-hmm.
inconvenient for me. So those are,
Mm-hmm.
I think, some struggles for. So I remember I had this event in Mumbai. It was by Economic Times. I was going to be one of the speakers in the summit, and it was in the morning at 10. And
Right.
there were two options for the flight. There was none in early morning. There was one during the night at 12 or 1, I guess, and there was another in the evening at 5 or 6 p.m. or something the previous day. And
Right.
unfortunately, I mean, as I said, if I was not a girl, I would have chosen the one at 1 a.m. in the night, landed up there at 3 or 4, and managed to be there by the time in that hotel at 7 or 8,
Mm-hmm.
by the time their inaugural ceremony or something.
Right.
But just because I wanted to try, avoid that, late night travel or early morning travel. I had to, then book a flight at 5 or 6 p.m. in the evening, then book another hotel, and then, travel all the way across to that different hotel for that event. So it gets a lot more
Mm-hmm.
inconvenient and totally inefficient sometimes, but you just have to do it because you have to kind of take all the measures and precautions, etc. So those are some basic things
Mm-hmm.
that I believe that I never thought that okay, oh ये भी होगा, मतलब ये तो बहुत ही basic सी चीज है, but इसमें भी problem होती है. um,
Mm-hmm.
then obviously there are things that you kind of are exposed to at advanced levels. So for example, I still remember, and I've not really disclosed this to anyone, but I think it's about
Right.
time that if people know, and especially if there are any female entrepreneurs or any aspiring entrepreneurs, they should be aware of that.
Right.
Being females, you will get a lot of doors open, you will get a lot of attention where maybe others wouldn't, but at the same time you will also get a lot of doors shut in your face just because you are a female entrepreneur. So for example, I remember this one incident. I We were raising one of our fund rounds, and I remember we came across this um, you know person who was an investor.
Mm-hmm.
And we had been engaged with him for around 1 to 2 months. Everything went fine. I mean, it went in fact great. There was just a group of investors who really liked liked what we were doing. They liked our business model, our plan, everything, the team, and everything, just perfect. Nothing I would say was a loophole in entire thing that we had presented or anything. Then we had
Right.
this person just calls me up, not even me, in fact, one of my team members. He just calls him up, and he says that we liked everything, it's just great, and it's just an amazing thing that you're doing and everything. And then he says, but there's this one problem. So he said, what? So he says that Smriti is really young right now, and we're not really comfortable with the fact that she's kind of leading right now. So he says that, what's the problem? I mean, she's really good at what she's doing. I mean, in my team right now, I think everybody is elder to me. Nobody is really. younger, at least on the senior
Mm-hmm.
leadership right now. And they're comfortable with me leading. They don't believe that they're not that kind of egomaniacs where they feel that just because we are older than her we should be leading and she should be following or anything. They believe that I have that kind of vision and I can handle things. So he
Right,
defended me, and this person says that that's not the problem. Maybe she's good at what she does, but the thing is that she's young right now. She's single. What if she gets married tomorrow? What if she has a husband? And what if she has to just move to a different place or something? I don't know. I mean, what exactly was the problem? But
mm,
he kind of had conveyed all of this to me, and I felt it didn't make any sense to me. I mean, everything was fine, but just because I am young, I am single right now, and I'm not in my 30s or 40s, which probably, I don't know, I think that's the standard market rate for a girl, sorry, age group where
right,
probably a girl should be allowed to start up. I think they
right,
just denied, and they had their apprehensions there. They said, these are some things that we believe we should work on. I mean, what does work on even mean? I mean, it's not that I'm going to step down or something just because you feel
right,
that me leading is not right. So those are some things that I have faced, and those feel totally logical. I mean, me being girl and you doubting that a girl is not as good or as skilled as other men or something makes sense. Then I can believe that okay, these are some societal apprehensions that I have seen, and people talk about. So this is something I'm ready for. But if you're saying that
right,
she's single and she's young and she might get married, and these are the problems, and these are something I cannot even work upon. I cannot change even if I want to. So that really upsets me about the society. And this is the person who is who is close to, I think, 2 degrees. He's MBA from IIM Calcutta and everything, and he has he himself is a father to a daughter, and I feel so bad. I feel so bad for I don't know whether this is the kind of mindset that everybody holds, but if it
mm,
is a common mindset, it really upsets me because I think a lot of girls out there, a lot of females will have to face consequences for such things unnecessarily. So those are kind of the struggles
right,
that I have seen. But as I said, I mean, though we also have a lot of advantages. If if you
right,
have the eye for it, there are a lot of opportunities
right,
also out there. There's so many
right,
accelerators. There's so many, government policies also that favor girls and that are ready to fund specifically girls, female founders, etc. We recently had
right.
one this competition by organized by Tinder where we got free marketing for around worth $2 million for I think for a quarter, in fact, on the platform for our business, just because that was only for the female founders, female led businesses. So there are a lot of opportunities that you get
Wow.
being female founders also. But you also then have to face such things that at least you should be aware of or prepared for.
My goodness. So how was the experience of raising the first round of investment? Did you face something there also, like very first round of investment, or was
Obviously,
it
I
smooth?
mean, first couple of rounds until I believe your seed round,
Hmm.
it's a huge struggle for anybody, and especially for young entrepreneurs. Young and I would say first time entrepreneurs, definitely raising capital for the first few rounds is a huge struggle. Um, so for us, I guess it was very difficult because me being inexperienced into all of this, there were a lot of things that I had
Hmm.
to learn about. um, Fortunately enough, we have been in touch with a lot of people who have helped us throughout the first one, second one, etc., and who've been
Hmm.
in touch with us, guiding us through who should we approach, who should we not, who should be taken on the board, who should we not, etc. So you meet a lot of good people who are, without any, I would say, selfish intentions. They just want to help you out. So there have been a lot of people I've associated with, whether investors or not, who have helped me out there. First round was angel. We had a couple of angels who had put in funds, and only because they wanted to believe in this idea and me. So
Hmm.
I usually say that the first fund that you get is an experimental fund. People don't have anything to, back for that kind of a valuation or the kind of ask that you have. You don't really have
Right.
revenues to show. You don't really have profits to show or anything. So
Mm-hmm.
that is what I'm really grateful for. The first fund that you get is something you can never be grateful enough for. Second one was our seed round. In fact, we recently, kind of closed that. Now, that
Okay.
was also an entire struggle, I guess. It took us around a couple of months to kind of finally finalize it and everything. But there are a lot of, so I think the only thing is that we should not get demotivated, or you should never quit this process just because,
Right.
in fact, even 5 to 10 investors have denied, or they have, kind of pointed out some things that they want to kind of improve upon, want you to improve upon or something. Does not mean that you just quit and you feel disappointed that you're not going to get the capital. You'll not be able to run the business. No matter what,
Right.
you will find a way, and some doors will open. So there was this person who had once told me that, until and unless you have knocked on the doors of 100 investors and all of them have denied, you have no right to
Hmm.
say that, I am quitting. Nobody's going to put in funds. Nobody's going to provide the money, etc. So
Right.
I always, so that's the kind of figure I had in my, okay, 100 investors touch karna hai. But
Right.
fortunately enough, we have been able to encounter people who have, we have a mix of investors. We have VCs who understand us, who will help us grow, who have, the kind of professional guidance experience that they have. They have a lot of portfolio companies that they have experience with. Then we have people who are
Right.
angels themselves, who are closely in touch with us, who we can reach out to anytime we want, even in the middle of night or etc. Then we have people who are themselves, running these huge startups, almost like unicorns, etc. Who can guide us, who've been through this journey like us, and who can guide us exactly how they have, experienced all of these things, how they have overcome these hurdles. So
Hmm.
I think it's a great mix of investors that I've got. Fortunately enough, all of them are really great at what they do. They believe in us. If any time I had a second chance to kind of raise these funds again or anything, I would definitely want these investors back, because I could never
Wow.
ask for anything better. So, as I said, I mean, the people I'm associated with right now are the best bunch of people I could get. And yes, definitely, I mean, raising capital is a struggle. It's always been, and it's even more when you are a first-time entrepreneur. But I think the only mantra you should have is never quit. Somebody out there will understand your vision. Somebody out there will understand your business model and would want to, uh, onboard themselves onto this journey. So just never quit. And I guess, yes, the rest of the things keep falling in place. It's not the
Right.
money. I mean, money is just the means to kind of accomplish what you're trying to. So,
Right.
you just have to remember that, even if it's not money, and even if it's not enough money that you want, you anyway have to figure out a way to kind of accomplish what you want to. And yeah,
Right.
enjoy the journey. I mean, I still look back and I realize that there's so many things that I have seen. Money kind of makes everything a lot more comfortable for you.
Right.
If you have, I think, I don't know which person, but somebody had said that, having a lot of money at
Hmm.
hand in terms of funds makes you very
Hmm.
comfortable, and then you lose innovation. Only if
Right.
you do not have money, you figure out ways of, how to kind of improvise this, how to make it cheaper, how to kind of accomplish
Right.
it
Right.
without, exploiting too much money or funds, etc. So that's where
Right.
innovation comes in. So lack of funds is also actually a good thing for you to kind of keep innovating and thinking of new ways to accomplish your goals.
Right. I mean, I've heard this very same thing. Okay, so guys, now I really want to talk about this. So why I really asked this question was to see if something really happened when she was trying to raise her first fund, and I definitely want to question the society. I mean, listening to the previous story of the investor and stuff, and the reason. I mean, it makes me shit on the society. What the fuck kind of society are we living in right now? I mean, seriously, for God's sake, guys. I mean, if you really listen to, and if there's any female entrepreneur, I would just say face that person face to face. These are no shitty reasons to walk around. I mean, okay, think of it from the very logical way, if you guys can. I mean, okay, so there's this female entrepreneur who's running a business and she gets married. Would she really leave her business? And is she dumb enough to marry a guy who would ask her to leave her business and she'd marry him? Do you really think so? I mean, what the fuck all kind of world are we really living in? I'm sorry, but what? I mean, this is shit. This is sheer shit. And the real shit really comes down is like these guys are educated. I mean, okay, I understand that, women are hardworking, women have more responsibility in terms of a family, in terms of plenty of other things. But you also need to realize that, yeah, theek hai, if there's an entrepreneur woman, she has money, and if she's really making money, she can hire people to do a lot of stuff. I mean, and that is what we really talk about entrepreneurs hire people to do what you really don't want to do. So you can hire people. And फैमिली में भी चलाने के लिए
Exactly.
बहुत लोग होते हैं. You have nannies to grow your children. Parents don't really spend time with your children now these days. And then we say parenthood is going away. So I mean, there's a question for every fucking thing, but this is a very shitty thing to point out. uh, I don't know that what kind of ambition are we really looking forward to in terms of the country. And the worst part that I really find about this, and I'm sorry for ranting this really hard out, but these things go deep down in the society,
Yeah.
very deep down till the grassroots level in terms of not looking up to females and keeping them indoors. And the worst part, to be very honest, is when I look at these our historical films, and when they really come up, I'm like, उन पुराने जमाने से ये हो रहा है कि बस तुम अंदर रहो. I mean, why do you want to keep them inside? and and then it becomes pretty evident कि हमारे प्रथा चली आ रही है. Fuck the pratha, dude, grow up. And then
So,
compare, right?
I
Tell
mean,
me,
the
tell me, tell me.
hypocrisy is that, it's fine, women running business and all, women being in business, as long as they're employees, as long as they're reporting to someone, or as long as there's somebody else sitting on the board and, with the title as
Right,
co-founder or the CEO. But the girl should not be the same. And even if she is, she should have co-founders. She should necessarily have people, sharing her title, because you kind of, I don't know, I mean, they have this mindset maybe, that
hmm,
one day or the other, if she's single, I don't know, and this is something that I've come across for the first time. But anyway, if she's single, she's going to get married, and she might not be able to focus, or I don't know what else. But I think, on the other side of it, it's also very bright. We have seen a lot of businesses that have, I mean, that I really look up to, especially as female-led businesses. You look at Nika, you look at
right,
Mama Earth. There's so many great businesses
right,
being run, and these are
right,
just the recent additions. In fact, not even the legacies.
right,
That is really great. I mean, and in spite of these examples, when people don't get this and people don't have enough conviction, I just don't get what else do you need as proof? Lot many banking institutes, even right now, financial institutes have. Women as the CEOs. In fact, majority of them. There's a reason
right,
to it as
right,
well. So I just I just don't understand. I mean, why not startups? I mean, it's even better that women are given chance in a startup to kind of lead and make their own mistakes, because it's a more agile environment. You are allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to have people back you up whenever they can, etc. It's not a really rigid setup like a corporate or something. So I think it's all the
right,
more reason to allow women to kind of break the barriers, experiment, learn, explore, and then kind of leap on that ladder of leadership. But yeah,
right,
unfortunately,
right.
I think there are some.
They're not some, there are many. Honestly, there are many. This is a very shitty situation, but there are many. I mean, shit, yeah,
Yeah.
this is really bad. I mean, guys, look at what men can do. I mean, talk about the multitasking. I haven't seen a bloody man who can multitask so much. Honestly, I haven't seen a
Yeah.
man like that. I mean,
That's one problem
look
I
at
really have encountered. I mean, I didn't want to stereotype this, but somehow, at least
right.
80% of the time, I've seen that, men are good. I think that's one thing that's really good. I think that's where they come up with these examples also, that women, that's why are not great drivers when it comes to vehicles and all, because they're
Mm,
good at multitasking. They cannot focus on one thing alone. But I have seen men, it happens in my office setup also. For example, I work with these two people. They're in the founding team, and I'm closely, always in contact with. And
right,
I'm on the call and I'm asking him, okay, so so basically, yeah, I'm talking about hiring, these are the people we've shortlisted. Okay, let's message them. Let's do this. Let's do that. Okay, so what's happening on this end? And he's like, give me some time to, breathe all of this, to absorb all of this. I cannot focus on three things at a time. I'm like, कैसे नहीं होता? It comes so naturally to me. I mean, ऐसे नहीं होता. I just cannot
I
imagine.
can understand. I can understand that. I can completely understand that. Guys, listen. Okay, I really want to say that since Smriti's kind of pointed out, we are not stereotyping anything. Honestly, I'm not being sexist. I am not a sexist. I'm not a racist at all. But there's some things. I mean, uh, but then if when I really say this, this will become debatable that women are better at something and men are better at something. But then
Yeah.
this becomes again debatable that women should be kept inside. So but that is really shit. Honestly, in terms of all the logics, that is shit, in my opinion, in my personal opinion. And the kind of growth that we really look forward to, that is a shitty statement to say. But yes, there are some things. I mean, look at your moms यार. सबको भूल जाओ, अपनी माँ को देख लो, अपनी बहनों को देख लो सबसे पहले. क्या वो मल्टीटास्क नहीं करती? यू टेल योर मॉम मुझे ये खाना है, मुझे ये करना है, वो करके दे देंगी ना. So, I mean, your mom will exercise, your mom will make food, she'll watch TV, she'll do this, she'll do that, she'll get your shit done. That is what a mom does. That is, try
Right.
doing that. That is, I think, that is another reason we say that fathers have a little hard time growing a child.
Right.
That is true. Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen a father honestly. Who remembers in which section does his child study? I've seen many, many, many fathers forget that. I'm like, I have always told, पापा आपको याद है मेरा section क्या है? बेटा सेवेंथ एट्थ में है ना तू ठीक है सेक्शन में क्या ले दे रहा right. So moving on, Smriti, there's this one like very good statement you put out earlier in the conversation that while you were looking at your peers and everyone, and when you stepped into your entrepreneurial journey, you said that while being an entrepreneur, you grow at exponential levels in comparison to others, right?
Right.
So I want you to give me more insight on this very specific statement. That what kind of growth have you really seen in comparison to your peers who are really in the employment sector and all those things?
Yeah, so I'm not trying to here say or, demean anybody or other career
Mm-hmm.
options as compared to entrepreneurship. But what I feel is that here the curve is really steep. I mean, it is really sharp when it comes to growth. It's
Right,
only a matter of your perspective, your mindset, your exposure goes from level 0 to 100, and you meet so many people, you go to so many places, you have done so many tasks that others might not have, and hence you gather so many experiences and knowledge that the byproduct is that you grow to a level or at least at a pace that is really high as compared to other career options.
right,
So that's also,
right.
I think, one thing that is really exciting, and the reason I really like working in a startup is because of the growth, and that's what I get, answers from. Because recently we've been hiring, and a lot of time we ask people that why do you want to work in a startup, and they say that
Right,
we want something challenging and we want the growth, and that is what I can
right.
relate to. I think basically, for example, for me, at least the lifestyle of an entrepreneur changes a lot. At least for me, I'm a workaholic. I mean, by workaholic, I do not mean that I don't have any balance or something in life, but at least I enjoy
Mm-hmm.
my work. So even if I want to get out of work, I find something else in the work that
True.
I would like to do. So that's the
Completely
kind
relatable.
of that's the kind of
Right,
I don't know what it is called, but I have the love for my work. But so I think that's where the lifestyle changes. You become so much engrossed in your work. I am so much buried in my day-to-day work and business that I really get a chance to catch up with my friends, to make new friends. I mean, it's been so much time that I have made any friends, at least of my age. So I get a lot of people, who are entrepreneurs themselves. As I said, people, successful people I meet, and we end up being friends. But
right,
I cannot recall a single time, at least for the past 2 years, that I had made a friend who was of my age. So
right.
that's where dynamics change. I cannot get time to
Exactly.
catch up with my old friends, and even when I do, they say that I've grown up so fast. So
Exactly.
that's where things start to change. That's kind of growth I'm trying to say. Obviously you then have to compromise with a lot of other things. You don't really get a lot of uh, time to kind of interact with your old buddies. You don't get a lot of family time as well. I mean, it's already been 6 to 7 months I've not seen my parents.
Hmm.
So that's the kind of compromises you have to make, but then again, it's your choice. uh, but yes, I think that also leads to a lot of growth. You have a lot of practical knowledge. I mean, when I look at
Exactly.
people who have degrees in these professional degrees in, let's say, finance, MBA, etc., etc., and they have this bookish knowledge of, obviously they might have practical knowledge too, but most often they have a lot of bookish knowledge around
Bookish knowledge,
whether
right?
it's marketing,
Right.
finance, or anything. And
Right.
then here are entrepreneurs who have seen everything, right from, in fact, the compliance, incorporation, hiring, marketing, finance, payroll, again, then your own domain. For example, for me, it's finance, etc. So,
Right. Right.
seen, practically done all of these things. So you have much more knowledge, at least the practical knowledge of what goes around and how to go about doing it, than just,
Hmm.
the bookish words and phrases and language. So, um, that's where I believe that we really have an advantage. We've seen so many things, and the experiences that, I mean, there are no bounds to experiences. You meet so many people, you interact with so many people, and that's the thing I really enjoy. I mean, the work. The reason I love my work and I enjoy it, and I'm ultimately satisfied with, is because um, it's never constrained. I mean, there's not one thing that I cannot name one thing that's been constant throughout these years of my startup journey. That I believe, this was my, people usually ask, what is that you handle in your company? And I
Hmm.
don't have anything else to say except pretty much anything and
Everything.
everything, a little of everything. So that's the kind.
Right.
This is the exact JD I want for my career, whether it's my business or not. Everything. I want to explore
Right.
everything. I want to do everything,
Right.
make mistakes, learn from them, and
Right.
not one thing that I want to stick to, whether or not I'm good at it. Because ultimately, it will
Right.
get boring. Ultimately, that I will reach a saturation point, and that's not what I want for myself.
I can completely agree to that. So, guys, honestly, when Smriti is talking about this, making new friends and the age gap, I am just going to compliment this and add another point to this. It's because, when you get into startup culture and you start talking and when you start having all these experiences, which really add up to your mental growth and everything, the problem that happens really making friends for people like us is that we're not able to connect with people. That is the biggest problem that really
Right,
happens.
right,
Right?
right.
Because somewhere that we are highly ambitious, okay, and we've got so many things going on. First of all, we don't have anything else to talk about from work. Okay, honestly,
Yeah.
hard truth
True.
of life, we don't have anything else to talk about apart from work. The millennial shit doesn't really go for us. Okay, and it's like when you talk about, I mean, we understand what happens in the job, but when we talk about ourselves, so it's like we know that we're gonna bore you out, honestly. So we prefer not speaking to the, and that is the real reason that we are able to connect with people much elder to our age, who are in the 30s or maybe 40s, because
Right,
they have seen
right,
a lot of stuff and they are on that part where they are kind of exploring or maybe growing, and they've seen a lot and they can really talk about it. That is another
correct.
real big reason that entrepreneurs tend to talk to such people more than people around their age. That doesn't really mean that we lose friends, but yes, we have
Hmm.
old friends. Making new friends is very difficult for us.
True.
I can completely understand that situation. Okay, so I guess that sums up a lots and lots of questions that I've really asked you, Smriti, right? But there's still a couple of them left, which I really want to ask. First one is,
Hmm.
are you a money-minded person?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I come from the business background where I am supposed to be money minded. I'm supposed to be money savvy and conscious. So I think I don't really know the context of the question, but if it means that I'm conscious about money, I am
Hmm.
constantly worried about my finances. If I see money as one of the goals that I want to achieve, yes. Uh, but I think there's a catch to it. It does not mean that money is anything and everything that I'm working for, or that
Exactly.
I feel that is should be the ultimate goal of a person. Because, I mean, there's one obvious, obvious fact, which is that money is not the ultimate thing that you want to achieve. It's only a means to, a lot of things that that money ultimately facilitates you in, whether it's, a
Hmm.
better lifestyle, house, car, education, whatever. But additionally, I believe that one thing that that sort of people overlook is, and what I value money for is the choices that it creates. So for me, money means
Right.
that I have more money means more choices for me. So I know that for now, if I have more money, I could choose any place to live in. I could choose any
Hmm.
kind of, any kind of business that I want to do. I could choose any kind of person that I want to probably hire. If I have more money, I have more choices in terms of number of things. So I guess that's the only purpose money fulfills for me. I have been at a point where you have just nothing in terms of money. You have no security, no savings at all, and
Hmm.
you kind of have to make do with whatever you have. And I have done that. I have seen it, and it's been fine. I don't think that it makes a huge difference. I don't believe in luxuries as such. Never want to have a luxurious life. All I want is more choices. I just don't want to regret that, only if I had more money, I could have chosen this instead of this, and this would have made me accomplish this goal faster, or this would have
Right.
made me achieve that goal, which I otherwise cannot right now. So that's the only regret. Those are the only regrets I
Absolutely.
don't want to have at any point, and that's why I am money minded.
Absolutely agreed, guys. See, this is the harsh reality. I mean, there are no money problems and there are more money problems. More money mom problems are any day sweeter than no money problems. I mean, okay, this might sound a bit financial. Let's talk in terms of food. खाना किसको पसंद है? दो वक्त का खाना सबको चाहिए होता है. एक गरीब को दो वक्त की रोटी चाहिए होती है. एक अमीर के पास चॉइसेस होती हैं. It's as simple. गरीब को तुम चॉइस दोगे, क्या वो मना करेगा कभी? नहीं मना करेगा ना. He'll be like, अच्छा ठीक है, मैं उठा लूंगा. तो पहले तो शायद से मना करके सिर्फ 2 रोटी ले ले कि भाई मुझे इतना ही चाहिए। बट तुम उसको रोज़ लाके दोगे तो पता चल जाएगा ना कि आई हैव दिस ऑप्शन विद मी। एंड देन इफ यू मेक हिम
Right.
अर्न इट, ही विल अर्न इट, राइट? इट्स एज़ सिंपल। So talking about these, money is not anything everything, but then there are good byproducts that come with more money. So that is what many times people we want in life. Okay. Okay, so another question that really takes is, Smriti, if I talk about your failures or hiccups, what is the biggest failure or hiccup that you have gone through in your journey, and what have you really made out of it? Like, what is the learning that you've made out of it?
Mm, hiccups slash failures. I have been a failure more often than a successful person, I would say. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Not just in business, in my entire life. I mean, although I was really good at, academics and all, I have failed
Right,
to do a lot of things that I tried my hands on. So as I said, it's not just business. I have been active into a lot more other things. I have quite honestly tried an acting career. I have been a model at one or two brands. I have sort of pursued and then dropped a dancing career for myself, failed at that. I have
okay,
failed as an engineer, I would say. I mean, I'm not really an engineer, but per se, coding or doing anything that I was taught at my college. Um, I have been on some level of failure to my parents because I could not really opt for a career option that they really wanted or dreamt for me to have.
right,
I in business I have failed a lot many times. I have failed to match sort of deadlines that we had set for ourselves, goals that we had set for this particular financial year or something. I have sometimes I don't know. I mean, I tend to, if I don't know if that counts as a hiccup or a failure, but I tend to sometimes fail my teammates also because they have certain expectations. In terms of work, flexibility, etc., which I'm not able to match up, and I'm constantly learning on those things, right? So
right,
those are the kind of things that I feel that I have failed at, and I don't really regret those. I mean, I know that those are not the last failures I have. I'm going to fail a lot more many times, in fact, in the future. As you said, the only point is to learn from those failures and to not. I think the only goal that I kind of have and want to make sure of is that I don't repeat those failures. I mean, once you've failed at something, once you've been mistaken at something and you've learned from it, don't repeat that. At least make new mistakes, make new failures, try to learn from new things, but don't repeat those failures, because that means then you're being stupid again. So
Right.
that's the only goal I have. In terms of, yeah, I think that those are the only failures. I mean, I feel that I have. I don't really. I think the reason I'm not able to actually, you know, kind
You
of
don't see
give
them
you a
as
number.
failure.
No, failure is something I think really subjective. I mean, for somebody,
Right.
failure could really be not getting into a particular, college, not getting into a particular career. I don't consider that as a failure. For me, failure would be
Mm-hmm.
disappointing a person. Failure would be, not matching up my own goals in life, and that does not mean some, education or some degree, but it means, having so much security or meeting these many people in life. That can be that for me can be a failure. I wanted to this There is this particular person I know as an entrepreneur. I really admire him, and I once talked to
Right.
him, and I kind of consider that as a failure, because he did not really seem that thrilled about the business model that I proposed to him. So those are the kind of
Okay.
things that I see as failures, not exactly what other people typically call
Mm-hmm.
failures.
Right, right, right. Okay, that's good. And my last question, that like honestly, this is my last question. My last question is, such being such a Warren Buffett fan, do running a fintech startup and everything out there in personal finance, what are your money management plans? How do you manage your money?
My money management mantra is actually very simple, and this is exactly what I try to convey every time that when I meet people, and this is exactly the fundamentals of the service that we're trying to provide and the product.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be very simple. It's supposed to be very fundamental in your lifestyle. But the only problem is people are not really aware. One, and second, they're
Mm-hmm.
not really disciplined with that. So you
Mm-hmm.
make bad decisions. You make one bad decision in your life, then you have to kind of face consequences all the life. So, for example, you just had to buy a car when you started your job. And you just took a loan, you put all your savings into the down payment, everything, and now let's say COVID hit and everything, you lost your job, and now you're regretting that decision because you have to pay AMIs, etc. I meet a lot of people, um,
Right,
you take a lot of credit cards, you end up not using them, or anything happens, and then you're now paying off fees that you don't even know what you're being charged for, etc. So these are some examples that I'm trying to give, where people
right,
lose track. They make one bad decision in life, and now they are liable to it. I meet a lot of people, who want to get into entrepreneurship, who want to join startup, etc., want to build their own startup. Only problem is they have some loans, they have some liabilities, they don't have enough money or savings at least to start with. What I'm trying to say here is that having no money or having loan or liabilities, etc., does not mean that you are any less than any other person, but that only means that you will be constrained in terms of choices. You will not be as free as other people are, to take up anything that they want to try out anything that they want to, etc. So that's one. In terms of my own, finance or money management, I usually follow this 50-30-20 rule, which is very famous.
right, right.
Which basically says that
Fif-
whatever your income is, you have
hmm.
to, the 50% of it you can utilize it as your expenses. Obviously, this varies on granular level, to
Right,
cities, to various countries, or to the kind of job you have and lifestyle you have. But that's the
right,
basics of money management. 50% of your income should
right.
go into your expenses,
Expenses.
30% towards savings for your short-term goals, and 20% for your long-term goals.
Right,
So this is
right.
what I usually suggest. If you do not know anything, at least follow this rule. Please follow this rule. Do not go beyond that 50%. Do not splurge 90% or 100% of your salary and then wait until the 31st or the first of next month. Uh, avoid being that kind of a person. In the long term, it will really be harmful, and there would be a point in your life where you would want to, take up something, or you would want, if only you had made some savings, if only you had not taken that liability, you would have been really free. So keep your lifestyle. They say that businesses को थोड़ा asset light रखना चाहिए, और etc. I say कि life को भी थोड़ा, लाइट रखना चाहिए. Don't accumulate a lot of these, fake assets. मतलब buying a new car, a new house, etc. It's not really an asset
Right.
unless you can afford to and you have a comfortable lifestyle.
So
Um,
good to hear that. So good to hear that. People finally telling me, घर तुम्हारा asset नहीं है, मान जाओ भारतवासियों. Oh my God. And people in there are like, my home is my asset. No, dude, home is not your asset. It's taking money out of your
No,
pocket.
it
Simple math.
is, yeah, it's depreciating more, more importantly. I mean, you buying it at some
Yeah,
value, tomorrow you're not able to sell at that value, Keep your life. I
right,
mean, it's very easy. I think in general, I myself very minimalistic, and I kind of prefer that kind of a lifestyle.
right.
Now that you have at least, at least in the start of your career, at least until you're 30, 35, etc., why not survive on Ola, Uber, Airbnb, etc.? Why do you have to buy a house? Why do you have to buy a car? I mean,
Right.
people are attached to these superficial things. I think it comes from the ancient ages, our attachment towards gold, etc. But ठीक I mean,
Definitely,
if people have
definitely.
their own preferences, these are only some things that one can at least alert you on and kind of give you awareness about. So rest is, I think, all about
Uh,
discipline, as I said.
Absolutely true. Absolutely. I'm so glad to hear this from a financial person. Oh my God, this makes me feel so good. I mean, trying to convince people that, dude, home is not your asset. Really fucks my ass. I'm like, इन भारतवासियों को समझाना इतना टेढ़ा काम है ना घर के मामले में तो लाइक बेटा मैंने घर बनाई है बस सर आपने घर नहीं बनाया है आपने लाइबिलिटी पाल ली है चुप हो जा oh my god I mean rich dad poor dad changed my perspective completely so yeah I can
Yes,
completely
yes.
agree to that okay so yes you have already told your mantra and I'm done with my questions right so I want you to tell us your mantra crisp and short once again because you already told that to us once.
Mm, so you're asking about the same thing, right? Or
The business mantra, yeah, the business mantra
oh, the
that you
business
follow in
mantra.
your
Okay.
right,
I think the only thing I follow is obviously, I mean, this is a cliche here, but many things around business and work culture I really admire of Steve Jobs because the kind of commitment he had towards work. Now, there are other,
right.
obviously, I mean, besides being a great leader and everything, people do, kind of point out fingers at his, especially the
Work
kind of
ethics and
environment
everything.
and work ethics, etc. But I did
Right.
like his commitment towards work, the kind of eye he had for details and everything. So I really,
Definitely.
like that personality of his, and I admire him for that. So I think, yeah, the same thing he had said once that, a great part of your life will actually be occupied by work. And for you to be satisfied with the work, you have to do something great. And for you to be able to do something great, you need to love what you do. So this is what I advise always. And I follow in my personal life itself. If I'm not, entirely loving what I'm doing, and obviously it's not a luxury. A lot of people say that, um, doing what you love is a luxury. It's all fake and everything. It's not entirely possible or practical, etc. It is. It very much is. It really depends on your choices. It really depends on your perspective. I enjoy, and this is why I'm good at what I do because I enjoy doing it. I love doing it. And even if you ask all my team members, etc., the people we hire and all, um, we have no stringent boundaries to the kind of things that they do. So if there's somebody who's on the software development side, he's also allowed to start developing skills on the management side. Somebody from management now has started learning more about development and coding, programming, etc. So I think the idea is ultimately, I think the reason Steve Jobs had said that is because you don't really constrain yourself in terms of work. I want to, as I said, do anything and everything possible around, whether it's business, whether it's anything. Uh, I also started with the job because I just wanted to see, how am I at being an employee? How am I at being in a job, etc. So I think
Right.
the only thing is that never stop learning. Never think of yourself as an experienced person. This one entrepreneur had once told me, he's the founder of Mintra actually. He had told me once that being experienced is a handicap actually. So if you are
I know.
experienced and you believe that you've achieved all the success you wanted to and there's nothing more you need to learn, at least a lot you have already learned, etc., it's a failure in itself. You will never be able to succeed in the next thing that you do. So he says that in every second venture or the third venture that I do, I usually think of myself as a first time entrepreneur and I start from the scratch. This is something really good. I always try to follow that, and I believe that
Right.
anytime that I start doing something else or anything, I would want to stay very humble and keep learning more and more.
Right, right, right. So here comes out the business mantra also, guys, from Smriti. I mean, really amazing story. So, guys, Smriti, now with this, we really come to the end of the podcast, right? And guys, this was Smriti Tomar with us. Oh my God, that's an amazing journey. And the best part is the way she's fought the society. Honestly, that is the best part from your journey, Smriti. And walking around the startup and funding culture, that's good. That's really good what you have done and how you've come around it. But something you really need to pick up is pick up your niche, pick up what you love, just keep doing it, keep learning, and fight. Smriti, you really are someone whom females should look up to as a female entrepreneur. I would definitely say that. Definitely,
Anyways,
definitely
thank
say
you,
that.
man.
Right. And so before I really end it, Smriti, there's this one thing that we do. We ask our guests to recommend us another entrepreneur whom you think has a very inspiring journey. So whom would you recommend we call on the show?
um, I okay. As I said, I mean, I really have any friends or anything, anybody who is in my circle as an entrepreneur, at least of my age. So I really have people who are much older
No, no
and
worries, no worries.
experienced. Uh, so there are two I think I can think of. There's Ajit.
Right,
He is the founder and CEO of Polanco. We've been friends for a while. He is really great. I think he is one person who can teach you how to, transition from a corporate to a startup career. He started, I think, fairly early, but still after at least giving 8 to 10 years in his job. So he
right.
himself has great qualifications, 2 degrees he already has, and the way he is, he had the guts to kind of risk everything and start a new venture and start from scratch itself is really inspiring. I mean, it's easy for you to kind of start up when you have nothing to lose, but when you have so many things to lose, and then to gather that kind of courage to start up, it's a whole another,
Oh my God. This
experience.
is gonna be amazing then. Right.
Yes,
And who else
so
is the second one?
the second is Tushar. He is also been a friend again, a little older than me. He runs his own startup known as NanoClean Global. They're known for their nasal filters. They are anti-pollution masks and filters. Um, the reason I recommend him is because he is one person I look up to when it comes to developing and continuously learning because he never keeps. He's a mechanical engineer by graduation, graduated from IIT Delhi, and he transitioned himself into this whole another startup and career in terms of nasal filters, something that is totally
My
around
goodness.
biotech and medical, and he's so
Right.
much more proficient than me when it comes to finance. So
Oh
he's
my
one
God.
person you can say that never restricts himself to one domain. So yeah, I think that he's pretty good an entrepreneur himself.
My goodness. So I'll make sure that, I bring these people on board and I really request you that, if you can help me connect with them. I would love to get
Sure,
them on board
sure.
and listen to their journey and tell our listeners about their journey. And I'll make sure that you both have each other, you three of you have each other's links and that you also look at it. With that said, Smriti, I want to thank you so much with the whole heart for taking out time from your schedule and coming on the show and giving us a beautiful insight into your beautiful journey. It's been really, really amazing to talking to you. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Smriti.
Sarthak. It's been amazing. I mean, the candid conversation we had, it's really it is an experience I've never had before. But I just hope, I mean, people who listen to, they have you know, one or two things that at least additionally that I have contributed to their knowledge, to their learning, especially if there's anybody who's an aspiring entrepreneur or something. And yeah, I'm really glad we got to interact. Glad to know you. And yeah, I guess look up for more such interactions with you and with your audience.
Thank you so much. The feelings mutual. Smriti, thanks a lot again, and I'll definitely see you soon. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Sarthak.
Bye bye. I hope that you're able to take back something insightful from this podcast and apply it in your life to be a better version of yourself and add to your Dhandho Soch. If you know someone whom you think should feature on my podcast and has a very inspiring entrepreneurial journey, then do drop me a DM on my Instagram, SarthakVarshney. Sarthak Varshney. Yeah, that's me. I'm the founder of SV Clicks, and SV Clicks is the producer of this show. You can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn as well with the same name. If you're willing to listen to more of such unheard, inspiring stories of the entrepreneurs, then don't forget to follow us by pressing that follow button on your podcast screen. Thank you for being such an amazing audience. Keep learning, keep growing. We'll be back soon. See ya.